Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel, Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Today I'm bringing you a long-form, story-driven deep dive about Elçin Sangu. All the details are here. If you enjoy thoughtful coverage, please press the like button, subscribe, and, if you want to support the channel even more, click the join button below. Thank you, and let's get into the video. For months, the question hung in the air like a note that never fully resolved. What does Elçin Sangu really think about marriage, and when, if ever, would she make a move? The actress, whose career has been defined by meticulous choices and a charismatic mix of warmth and steel, maintained an elegant silence. Interviews focused on craft, not confession. Red carpet questions were parried with a smile. Then, unexpectedly, the quiet was interrupted not by a tabloid exclusive, but by a single voice that matters to her more than any headline, her mother's. It didn't come in the form of a press conference or a glossy magazine spread. It came, as personal truths often do, in a modest social media post, brief, heartfelt, and impossible to ignore. The message, as relayed by those who saw it first, wasn't a PR decree. It was a mother's plain-spoken affirmation that her daughter is ready to move forward with the next chapter of her life. There were no tagged brands, no sponsor codes, no stylized flat lays of rings and roses, just a sentiment that instantly reframed the conversation around Elçin. Why did those few lines land with such force? Because they followed a year in which the actress had deliberately stepped back from the noise to recalibrate. Rather than chasing every script and every appearance, she spent time sharpening her instrument, acting workshops with trusted mentors, quiet weekends away from the city, long walks without a team trailing behind. Friends say she rediscovered the rhythm that first drew her to the set. The part of the work that happens long before the cameras turn on, reading, listening, and seeing people as they are. Against that backdrop, her mother's message wasn't an intrusion, it was context. It suggested that private conversations had matured into private decisions. That the calendar in the kitchen, where families still write the things that matter, now carries a handful of softly circled dates. That the word someday is being replaced by soon. What soon looks like, however, is entirely in keeping with Elçin's style. Think careful curation, not spectacle. One of the most telling details from insiders is how she is approaching the logistics. Instead of the standard hotel ballroom tour, she's leaning into places that hold meaning, a seaside venue with stone steps and wind-smoothed railings, a historic garden whose trees have witnessed more vows than any luxury suite ever could. The criteria, reportedly, are disarmingly simple, quiet, beautiful, and kind to the elder's knees. In other words, a setting that honors the people who will sit, stand, and dance through it, not just the camera angles. Another choice, timing. The actress is known for discipline, and that extends to the practical math of balancing filming with family milestones. Industry chatter suggests she and her team have mapped out windows that minimize disruption for cast and crew. If a ceremony happens during a production, it will likely be anchored on a weekend with a modest buffer around it, no week-long photo ops, no post-event blitz. Those who know her well say she hates the idea of asking a grip, a camera assistant, or a wardrobe specialist to scramble because she chose the wrong date. Professional respect has always been part of her brand. And then there's the guest list, the place where many public figures lose control of their own celebration. Elçin appears determined to keep numbers humane and invitations intentional. Expect the presence of collaborators who became friends and the absence of people who only ever showed up when there was a lens. Expect the kind of seating chart that a grandmother can understand at a glance. Expect speeches that run on gratitude, not gossip. Let's address the question everyone asks but nobody answers directly: who, exactly, is her partner in this next chapter? If you came for names, you came to the wrong story. There's a reason you haven't seen a staged reveal. The decision to anonymize the relationship publicly, at least for now, protects the thing that needs protection most. The move is strategic and, arguably, wise. It's much easier to keep a promise when fewer people are trying to edit it from the sidelines. Even without the spotlight on a face, there have been tiny, telling glimpses of the couple's rhythm. A classic, understated ring style is said to have been considered, the kind that rises slightly above the finger without announcing itself across a room. A conversation with a string quartet about keeping the prelude warm and familiar, rather than pretentious. Discussions with a caterer who understands that late-night tea trays matter as much as the formal menu. These are not the choices of someone staging a splashy reveal, they are the choices of someone building a day her future self will want to remember. Public reaction to her mother's words has been a story of its own. Fans didn't respond with demands for proof, they responded with blessings. May it be easy, wrote one. May it be healthy, wrote another. It says something about the relationship between Elcin and her audience that the loudest reaction wasn't a chorus of entitlement but a wave of good wishes. In recent years, celebrity culture has moved toward feeding the public every minute of a private life. Here, the public pushed back by giving space. Meanwhile, in the industry, the ripple effects are already being felt. Producers in development are building flexible start dates into their offers. Brands that typically insist on big splash campaigns are, quietly, pitching more intimate storytelling formats. A well-known designer has floated a capsule concept that nods to bridal silhouettes without turning the actress into a walking billboard. The common thread is respect. Respect for craft, for privacy, and for a woman who has never needed a megaphone to be heard. Friends describe Elcin's current mood as clear. Not giddy, not overwhelmed. Clear. The to-do lists are in order, the essentials are covered, the non-essentials can wait. You can almost see the outlines of the day she may be assembling: arrival as the sun thins the shadows, a ceremony with more vows than adjectives, a reception where music is chosen for dancing, not for virality. And then, the morning after, not with a brand new hashtag, but with coffee, family, and the relief of having done it your way. What about the press? Inevitably, there will be an appetite for images. If photographs surface, it wouldn't be surprising to see them released on her terms, a handful of black and white frames, grainy, graceful, and emotionally legible, shared without comments on a weekday afternoon when the world is thinking about something else. That's not coyness. That's control. There is also the human reality that ceremonies surface complicated feelings. Not everyone in a constellation of friends and ex-collaborators will know what to say. Here again, sources say the actress is well ahead of the curve, setting expectations privately and compassionately. No +1s for people who've never had dinner with the family. No sitting obligations that force old wounds to share a table. A celebration, not a reconciliation summit. Where does her mother fit into all of this now that the spark has been lit publicly? Close observers note a pattern: mothers shepherd you to the threshold, then let you walk. The role from here on out seems to be the best kind of support, steady, proud, and invisible when it needs to be. It's a reminder that for many of us, the most important witnesses to our lives don't care whether the world is watching. For those of you wondering whether this personal chapter will reshape Elcin's artistic choices, the early indication is yes, but not in the way you might think. It's not about stepping back. It's about stepping smarter. Scripts that celebrate nuance over noise. Characters who love without losing themselves. Schedules that leave room for the kind of living that makes the work worth doing. If the next performance feels richer, it won't be because a headline dictated it, it'll be because a life did. And that, perhaps, is the quiet brilliance of where this story has landed. A mother's sentence cracked the door, a daughter's decisions are filling the room. No frenzy. No chase. Just momentum, the kind that builds when a person knows who she is, what she wants, and how she prefers to arrive. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed this kind of thoughtful, narrative coverage, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and tell me in the comments. What do you most hope to see from Elcin's next chapter, on screen and off? Your insights help shape what we explore next here on Turkish Spotlight Secrets. See you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye.